Hello everyone, I am Sampada Pillai and I'll be your host for today's session. Some housekeeping before we get started. We have reserved the last 20 minutes for Q&A, but if you can't hold on to your questions that long, please feel free to pop in the Q&A questions in the Q&A sections. We will take it up at the appropriate time. For those who have just joined us, welcome. I would like you to introduce today's panel from Wibmo. We have our CISO, Pravin Kumar, with us today, who will take the insightful conversation ahead with our guest. Before we proceed, here's a little bit about Pravin. Praveen has worked in technology, audit, DevSecOps, GRC, cybersecurity, data governance, and privacy for the majority of his career. His background includes developing, maintaining, and supervising the implementation of the information security policies, procedures, and standards based on industry's best practices. He has worked for numerous well known corporations. Welcome, Praveen, and over to you.
Thank you, Sampada. Do you want to build your career around payment industry? Are you a security professional who is struggling and having sleepless night on how to protect your payment assets? Are you a product manager who wants to know what are the new technology, what are the innovation is required, how you should get the efficiency in your product management and operation? Are you a compliance professional who is really struggling to comply with recent RBI guidelines on PAPG and other guidelines? Are you a business head who wants to know that what is the future of payment industry? If answer is yes, hello and welcome. My name is Pravin Kumar. This is the platform and we call as InConversation with. In this platform, we invite best of industry minds and try to find very simple solution of a complex problems. Without doing further delay, let's welcome our guest, Mr. Dharshan Shanthamurthy. Hey Darshan,
Hey Praveen, very nice to meet you today.
how are you doing today?
All well, couldn't get better.
That's great. What should I call you, Darshan? An entrepreneur, an advisor, a CEO, a security professional, or a payment industry expert? You tell me, what should I call you?
A combination of all of them who's trying to survive in this chaos. I'm just one amongst all the people who are trying to make things happen in this hyper challenging cyber world. So I'm all of them, so to speak, Praveen.
That's great. That's great. You know, Darshan, I sometimes think about you, and back 15 years back, you realized that payment is booming, maybe it will boom in next 1 decade or so. Where did you get that intuition 10 years, 15 years back, Darshan?
I mean, it was more in terms of the amount of impact digital payments can have to the society. I think it's incredible. The kind of lives it can make an impact to. So that's what got me excited. And being from a finance background, if a trust comes natural, and if trust is not there in the digital payments, then there is no way that anyone would subscribe to it. So that got me started, and here I am, Praveen.
I think you have touched very good point called trust. Maybe I'll discuss on this topic going forward as you move along with this discussion. But there is very recent news, and it is all over media, right? That my parent company, that is PayU Global, has acquired BillDesk. How do you see this acquisition, and what would be the impact, if I may ask you, on the macro level on the payment industry in India?
No, it's a very exciting times for first is the payment professionals in the country, and not just in the country, across the world. The kind of transformation that is happening in this space is more thanks to the pandemic, and these moves are just reflecting the potential and the amount of work that all of us have to do today. Despite all the boom in digital payments, there's a lot of ground that needs to be covered, and this acquisition is only going to make the space very attractive. and great time to be in, and lead to a lot of innovation, which is most important in today's world, and benefit the ultimate consumer, hopefully, and make a difference to the society. So excited with all this news that's happening, Praveen, and congratulations on that news as well.
Oh,
I'm sure it's going to
thank
make.
you. We are very happy, very excited, and know this is, we are anticipating the future synergy, and definitely, it will help us to acquire majority of share in this payment market, right? As you know, the competition is very tough here, but whosoever innovates fast, whosoever provide better security, better convenience, I think though they will be the winner, right? This is the simple, simple winning formula, right? Let me ask the related this acquisition, that how do you see that, Wibmo, or Wibmo like of a company, right? What exactly required to be successful in this payment industry? What are the tips, and what are the suggestion you have the company like Wibmo, who are trying to be big company, unicorn company kind of thing? What are the suggestion you have for company like Wibmo?
I think, I mean, this is sounds a little rhetoric, but it's very important to keep the customer experience at the center of all that's happening, because ultimately it is he or she that we are trying to make a difference to, and as part of that, I see technology, playing a big role. Never has it played so much, as much as it's going to play in the future. So technology, we all know, is an enabler and has to do it. But now it's all about how the technology really uh, makes an impact to the last mile. The people. It's not just to a certain section of the society, but as wide and as wide as it can get, and touching each and every corner of the strata of the society, making an impact to their daily lives. That's going to be something very, very, very important. So I'm sure Wibmo is going to adopt technology, with a lot of things happening, with artificial intelligence playing a very big role as we move forward. Um, and data is going to be the king, as what we call it, the new oil. And I'm sure uh, Wibmo kind of companies are going to innovate massively going forward, and technology has to play a very, very big role in that. And with all these things that is happening around, I'm sure Wibmo will catch up.
Yeah, that's great. I know. Just to give you a brief about Wimo, that we are investing a lot on this technology innovation and the platform re-engineering. We recently had best of mind, and hopefully, we have the Wimo 2.0 strategy as well. Next couple of years, I think we'll be able to achieve that strategy, and by that time, we'll have new Wimo. It's called Wimo 2.0. That is the strategy defined by my CEO Suresh, and we all are following that strategy. And definitely, security is playing very critical role. We'll come on the security side, but since you touched about the technology side, right? No, my view here, right? Every month I see that there is new technology, right? I remember, right, in month of July, August, when I was presenting on the blockchain, I understood something, and now yesterday I was going through on the blockchain. There are new innovation coming on, right? How a technology professional or right product manager keep track of those new technology which is feasible and viable to implement in practical world. What is your suggestion that the new technology like artificial intelligence or machine language, how this new product manager or seasoned product manager will take complete advantage of this new technology, coming every day or every month?
No, so one is, the way I mean, this is what I feel is there's going to be incredible amount of technology, uh, innovation that is happening. Now, the challenge which we as product managers have is how do we make use the technology to solve problems, right? So one of the key challenges that we face is, even in my company, we have this is there's a lot of technology, but how do we make the life of the users better, and how do we make it simple? So we don't want to, in the garb of technology, increase complexity to the end users, the people who are really going to benefit from this. They don't care what AI systems we carry, what algorithms we run. But at the end of the day, they need the work to be done. As you rightly said, simple and secure, right? At the end of the day, so it has to be simple, it has to be secure. So we need to, the real challenge for all of us is, how do we guys the how do we make it how do we do the heavy lifting of the technology piece, take that burden on us, and keep the experience as simple and seamless to the end consumer. And I'm sure many companies have been doing it, and that's why they've been successful, including Wibmo and PayU. But then that continues to be a challenge, because but then as product managers, we need to be conscious of the fact that whatever is happening, we take that on our head, and we make it very implementable, executable, and simple for the end users. Is my
Yes,
feeling.
that's great. Some housekeeping announcement. The audience, whosoever is listening us, you have the right panel, the question and answer. As you know, the topic name is the anatomy of payments. You can do the bisect and trisection by asking question and participate in this live operation. Please keep asking question. There is no limit that at the end only you should be asking question. If there is any relevant question in between related to like new technology, what we are discussing, happy to take then and there, so that we all will be benefited from the Darshan's experience. Okay, coming to this on this new technology, right? Darshan, I've been observing the last 15 years this technology evolution, right, and last 1 year or so in payment industry as well. Yes, in other technology operation like in security, we have used the new technology like ML or RPA extensively. But in payment, still we see this could be my personal observation. We generally use on the fraud risk management or the risk management side only, but on the convenience side to the end user, as you rightly suggest, right, still I think I could not see, maybe wrong, please correct me, but I could not see the much use of this AI, ML or RPA for the benefit of end customer. What is your opinion on this?
Right. So my thing is, my feeling is, what I see amongst all our customers, and is there is, yes, I mean, to some extent you are right, that it's not as prevalent as what it should be. But having said that, I see a lot of use cases being used for machine learning, especially, and not just for fraud, not just when you get a alert, but even for today, many of our customers, fintech companies, provide loan limits, or lots of credit worthiness of customers are being given based on their pattern of transactions. So we are seeing a lot of data being used for enhancing customer experience, and being more accurate in decision making. So there are a number of use cases, Praveen, which we've started seeing, and I'm sure that is only going to get more and more. And even with thanks to the this recent RBI circular for extending the tokenization beyond cards, so it's going to be across all payment channels, and then IoT payments are going to get a big boost for that. So you're going to see a lot of technology usage in making difference to the common man.
I think in tokenization world, I think we wish to be the market leader or on the front runner. Our platform security team and payment gateway platform team is heavily investing on tokenization. Maybe we'd be the first to come with the concrete solution for our customers. Now coming to this again, on the innovation, let's spend good time here, because we have lots of audience from the technology side and the product management side, right? The new innovation happening, hope you have heard Google Quick or new HTTP 3. There are many new innovation happening. Uh, any quick tips that these innovation should be only used by the Google kind of company, or company like us also can adopt and create the difference. Darshan, you are able to hear me?
I just lost for a second,
Okay,
Praveen.
then I was talking the new innovation, right? Like Google Quick, HTTP 3. Just checking that this new innovation is only for the large company, large stake, or this can be also used very efficiently, cost effectively by the company like us.
Oh no. So I certainly believe that uh, all these technologies are for, in fact, are for the the for all organizations, irrespective of their size, and definitely smaller the organization, the more. This is my personal feeling that it's a lot more easier to innovate and a lot more easier to execute. And whoever is able to leverage these technologies at the earliest and then are able to build these use cases. The key thing is, how do you translate these technologies into simple use cases and make the customer, enhance the customer experience, a lot better, so that he or she can actually make those payments in a secure way. So the key thing is, how do we, I was reading a recent article by McKinsey, and one of the key things is, they were talking about, how they broke their research paper, where they have split the kind of sections of the society, right, and who cares for what. uh, and the fact, as per that circular, as per that survey that they did, not all people care about security. I mean, as cyber security professions, we would want to hear people saying that everyone who makes, who wants to transact, or who may want to make digital payments, is concerned about security. But that's not the case as per when they did the research. So basically, a broad section of the society wants convenience, and then there is that, I think the number was about 30%, and only 10%, as per that McKinsey study, says that they wanted Swan. And then the rest of the 60%, the good news is, the rest of the 60% want both of them. And you need to marry both, at the end of the day, to make sure that the, so coming back to your question, how do you leverage these new technologies? You'll have to, every organization, irrespective of their size, can do that. And the good thing is, you don't have to be in Silicon Valley. Indian payment systems today is, when I was part of the discussions on the UPI front and all that, we were slightly at the back seat when it comes to digital payments. But today, thanks to all that is happening through the regulator support, uh, Indian payment ecosystem is slightly ahead of the rest of the world. So we need to lead the way there. So I'm sure that there'll be smaller companies coming out with some, these, the RBI is also allowing sandboxing and a lot of innovation that is happening. It's only going to make things better. Exciting days is what I could say, the least.
Yeah, I think that since you touched the McKinsey report, I was also going through the McKinsey report a few days back, right? And it was very interesting article I got to read, that it's called responsible or ethical artificial intelligence, or use of ethical AI and ML, right? Because people have bias, right? And whosoever is writing, the data scientist or whosoever is writing, and that biasness comes naturally to that code, right? How do you see this ethical or responsible artificial intelligence usage in real life? Any advice on those coders and those the user of such kind of algorithm?
Right. Absolutely. Not to go into the thing, is there are two parts to it, right? Bias and variance. But bias is, something that is used very commonly, especially for, for finding out, if the conclusion, if there is a high, if there's a deviation for the outcome that
Yeah.
is, that is desired, right? So it all comes down to the training data set, right? And how, and it's honestly, it's very, very difficult. I mean, we could say that the training data set has to be curated, has to be normalized, and you need to make sure. I mean, I'm sure, many of us have read this thing about, one of the largest e-commerce companies had a problem with hiring,
Yeah.
and then they found out that they had bias for when they were actually making a hire. They found out that there was gender inequality, because largely it was against the colored people in the US, and because the last 10 years data essentially had a preference towards white. and that was and that caused the bias, and then hence the people of color were actually discriminated during the hiring process. But then, if honestly, if you look at the training data set, typically what we as product developers or product managers do is we take historical data, and then the bias is because of multiple factors. One is that there is a genuine bias by the by people, because at the end of the day, we ourselves are people and we have our own biases, so that gets reflected. So whoever is the engineer who is concerned has to pay special attention to making sure that the training data sets that we are using is reflective of the outcomes and the results that we are looking for. So it's a
And
big challenge.
yeah, it's a big challenge, and unfortunately, right, we do not have any scanning tool to find those biasness, right?
True.
And no, it is left to the user to find, of the period of time that, okay, there is biasness. This is a very interesting discussion, Darshan. I would love to continue this innovation technology next 2 hours, or rather, 3 4 hours. But I think in the interest of time, let's have the. That's good that many questions are coming from our audience. It means that people are listening us, and this is the one of the, successful parameter what we were discussing before this call. So
Sure.
let me take the one very relevant question from Rohit. Rohit is asking that how voice recognition and voice authentication is going to change the payment industry. Thank you, Rohit, for asking very relevant question. This is very relevant to the what we are discussing on the technology innovation. Any thought that yes, this my view, it will create the difference. But since you are the expert, let us listen from you, Darshan.
So there are two parts to the question. I think one is voice recognition and the other is voice authentication, right? And so this is all comes back to the same thing as far as users are concerned, right? So we have to marry these technologies to the user experience, and how are we going to? So the question, I think, was largely with respect to payment security,
Correct.
and how can we use these technologies to do that. And similarly, now one of the biggest problem is in payment data security is authentication, right? So because passwords are not the best way of authentication, but we have to live with what we've got. So voice definitely becomes a new biometric element in the entire authentication piece, and can be can be and we will see a lot of those implementation usages. And once again, this will I don't see voice as a primary factor of authentication, but my personal view in cybersecurity is that it would definitely be an additional factor of authentication as far as voice is concerned, because definitely it helps in terms of improving customer experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I also heard, Darshan, that EMB Co, right? They are experimenting and doing some POC on this voice recognition. I know, since they have released this touchless authentication, now they are also trying to experiment. That's a good. So many questions. Maybe I'll take once we close our discussion, because we have. I would like to understand my answer first of my questions. So let's move to the payment security, since you just touched upon the security, right? CISO like me, and I'll be honest with you, right? I am having sleepless night, Darshan, and you and me, discussed before that as well, right? And you know that there is risk everywhere, right? Be it application side, or be it the network side, be it API side, be it end user side, there is risk, right? The big company like where I work with Barclays, JP Morgan, they have billions of dollar, right? And they can do whatever they want to do, and that would be the fraction of their revenue, right? But company like us, or on this segment, right? How how this trade-off CISO should do that, okay, with very cost effective way, CISO can reach to that, that risk appetite level. What are the tips you can give to the CISO that yes, these are the 5 6 fundamental things, Pravin, for you, and if you are monitoring all these 6 indicators, I think you are good to go. And as you move, and based on the threat landscape, you can invest further. Any simple tips for CISO? I'm sure that lots of security professionals are listening to you.
Right. I'm sure you're an accomplished CISO. I always admired you for your knowledge and your quest to learn. So, but anyway, I'll give my 2 cents since you asked. So, first is in this world, only the paranoid will survive. So the good news is all the CISOs who are paranoid, that's the right step forward. I mean, that's my personal feeling because if we are not paranoid about security, if you're not having sleepless nights, then you're definitely going to have sleepless nights one day because the landscape has changed. The threat, because we're also a forensic investigator, and I'm not sure how many of the audiences in the audience know that we are a global payment forensic investigator, and probably the only one in the country, and we do a lot of investigations, payment breach investigations, and so the definitely the threat landscape has changed. That's least to say, and I'm sure that is not something new to the audience out here. But coming to your larger question, what should we as a CISO do? CISO community. I think one of the key things that I feel, this is my honest opinion, is as a community we need to innovate a lot more in cybersecurity, and that's the only way we can, as organizations, marry both through security and then and total cost of ownership, right? Lowest total cost of ownership. Otherwise, we are always going to, as CISOs, we can't go to our leadership team and keep, we obviously have to manage with what we get, and we have to enable business at the end of the day. So the only thing where I would say is that at every stage we need to ask this, how can we do cheaper? How can we do better? How can we faster? Right. So this is the three mantra at every point in time: cheaper, better, faster. And for that, one of the key things is in cybersecurity, we need to the latest technologies like cloud has to get adopted. Otherwise, there's no way that you could have it faster and cheaper, right? So one thing that I look at in terms of adoption, of course, with the regulatory framework permitting as much as it can, and I'm happy that the regulator is giving that. I heard that one of the largest private sector banks is adopting cloud in a big way, and there's a lot of cloud adoption. So one is definitely adopt cloud. That adoption, there should be a cloud strategy from a cloud security strategy, because cloud does not mean that that you can just leave it. It definitely needs some security controls because we've seen misconfigurations happen on the cloud as well. The second is on the tools and technologies that are there. There are one of the key things that we have seen, Pravin, from our forensic investigation. So when we do all these forensic investigations, we do two parts. At every investigation, we conclude on something called a cause of a breach and a contribution of a breach. A cause of the breach is typically what is the primary one or few things which actually led to a compromise to happen, right? Either it was an ingress, lateral movement, egress. Somewhere it was a big control that caused this entire thing. Maybe it's like a spear phishing attack, which led to a compromise of a user or an admin user and led to the entire compromise. That's the cause. But if we look at a contribution, which is maybe a list of controls that failed were not implemented effectively. There were a whole lot of controls that are there, and the good old principles of defense in depth still remains. So one of the key things that we publish every year is something called the top 5 learnings. It's there on our website as well. I would encourage, if anyone has the time for reading it up, it's a good source of what we find. And every year we keep publishing our, based on our forensic investigation, what are the top 5 key learnings that one could take, and one could actually do a continuous improvement against that. And these are basic things like, for example, most of the cases which we see the ingress is because of lack of patching. And that's the number one thing, and that might be
Fundamental remains same, right? Last over 2 decades, yes.
fundamentals remains the same. So I would encourage people to look it up, if that answers your question. So those are the fundamental things that people should be doing.
Yeah, again, this is my personal experience, Darshan, right? In boardroom discussion, right, wherever CISO presents to the leadership and their bosses, right? There is always, and this could be the occupational hazard for the CISO as well, right? No, Praveen or any CISO, right? For 1%, that is also very potential fraudulent transaction, very remote possibility. why you are punishing 99% of audience are genuine people, right? That this is the trade-off, right? And it is at times a very difficult situation to to put forward CISO's word to convince. Of course, this depends on the number of culture factor, but I think most of the CISO struggles to answer those kind of discussion, right? How do you? What are your tips for CISO if anyone is struggling to address those kind of stressful scenario or such kind of tough questions?
Yeah. So what I've observed, and this is what I feel as well, is as cybersecurity community. I mean, I'm not talking just as the CISO fraternity. I'm included in that. We as a community somehow are not able to articulate it in business language, and so somewhere, because one of the key things we all know, and this is the basics of what we've learned in cybersecurity, probably 2 decades, that we are enablers for business. And so we need to be able to articulate it in the business language today. And today and we have a lot of help, actually, thanks to all the things that are happening in the newspapers, and every day we get news in the report, news being reported. So there is enough tailwind that we've got. We just have to take that and articulate it to the leadership team in terms of the business language, which is in terms of how it would impact their growth in terms of their revenues. How would it make a big impact to the bottom line? If an organization is going through an acquisition, how it's going to impact their acquisition process or their merger process. There are a number of factors which we can articulate to the business. And the board today, the good news is the board is the boardrooms are sensitive to these factors, and I'm sure that you will get the necessary support, is what I could feel. Did we lose Adarsh? Sorry, did we lose
Yeah,
Praveen?
I think we lost Praveen. I'll wait for him to join back. Until then, let's answer a few of the questions here, Darshan. So, one of the
Sure.
questions was, what's the biggest security threat for card industry?
Oh, that's a tough one. What's the biggest security threats for card industry? Let me think. So, of course, I mean, the problem is not listing it. The problem is which one is the biggest one. So there are a whole lot of threats for the card industry. I think what is today, which is happening is, my feeling is um, the ability to kind of identify the data in the environment. I think is the biggest security threat, because today, if you look at all the cyber breaches that have happened, there is somewhere that data is prevalent where they should have not been prevalent. So sensitive data discovery is, in my opinion, one of the biggest threats, because one of the key mistakes that many organizations do, and we are trying to practice it and preach it as well, is one of the in the industry, one of the key things people do is they just do data discovery, and I'm sure many people know PCI here, and people just do data discovery for card data within their PCI scope environment. But you see many of the things that are there, are happening outside the PCI scope environment also. And today, one of the key things that we are seeing is PII data is being used to compromise our sensitive data, card data through social engineering. What I mean is, now today I know Dharshan's did a transaction on, say, an XYZ e-commerce portal, and based on that, I will do social engineering to kind of call in as the e-commerce provider and ask, saying that in the last 2 minutes you did this transaction, but it has not gone through. Would you want to regenerate or redo that transaction? And I kind of trick him to give a lot of data. So one of the biggest risks for payment data or payment card data at this point in time, what I feel is, uh, this data being prevalent in an organization across the environment. And thanks to work from home, this data is everywhere: cloud, work from home systems, mobile. you name it, and it's there on premise. It's so as CISOs, we sometimes lose control over the data. So data discovery is what I would reckon as one of the key things which organizations should do at least quarterly, not just for the PCI scope but across the environment.
Yeah, I think I'm back, Darshan. Apology for this technical glitch, internet
No
on
worries. That
working
was a
from
tough
home.
question. You missed the tough question, so it's okay.
Okay. But coming to this PI protection and all the privacy related, right? Happy to inform you that Wibmo has become recently GDPR ready.
Oh,
Uh,
congratulations.
yes, I think probably this could be the record to become GDPR ready in last 4 5 months, and because it was part of our strategy, and entire team has worked, and on effortlessly and very devotedly on that work, and that's why we could achieve that, right? So on the privacy side, right, this discovery or the structured data governance program, right, this CDO, this chief data officer, the DPO, data privacy officer, and CISO, chief information security officer, all these three, any tips how these three people can join together to make sure that we are GDPR or privacy related, any compliance is coming, we are compliant, and we are also on the security side very secure, and also the data side that we are our data is protected, either at rest, in transit, everywhere. So any tips for the CISO, DPO, and CDO combination?
In terms of governance, Praveen, or in terms of activities that
Yes,
they should.
how these gentlemen can work together and put this security privacy program together.
Yeah. So I was reading a nice. There was a nice meme which is running. Which is um, one of the key things is data inventory is the biggest challenge today. So the key thing is one has to actually make a proper inventory of data, and I think that's where the collaboration works. And I come back to the root of the entire problem is identification of data and labeling of data. That is the key problem today, and then of course classifying and all that. So I'm sure all of these three roles in an organization have to collaborate, and there's a lot of repetitive work. So that synergy should be built in, and we should have, my feeling is that all these three roles should have a joint strategy to address data security as a whole. And everything starts with proper identification, and then classification, and then of course the whole security paradigm comes in, which is your tokenization, your encryption, your key management, and the whole set of other controls. But the current challenge which we are seeing is ineffective data discovery exercise, and then people are getting surprised when they are getting to know that there is data out there in some cloud misconfigured S3 bucket, and suddenly they are waking up to see that data is being compromised. It's all over the dark web.
Yeah, completely agree on this, right? This data discovery is the fundamental thing, and as I just said, right, it is part of the data governance program, and one must run, and GDP opportunity to run those data governance program, right? To those data, classify those data, and protect those data, and it is wonderful opportunity to work CDO, DPO, and CISO work together to achieve the strategic goal of that company. Moving to in the interest of, we have lots of the compliance side, right? Those questions again, because lots of questions I can see, and we are very excited to see those questions. So Darshan, right? Yes, RBI has come up lots of regulation in recent time, right? The major one is the PAPG guidelines, and I'm sure that you are the expert, you are the advisor for lots of bank, right? And people are struggling. Let's be honest, right? People are struggling to comply to meet the deadline, right? For our compliance audience, right? Any tips that how to comply quickly on PAPG? What are the 5 6 controls? Create the 90% weightage. Though in compliance world it doesn't work, you have to comply and tick box each and everything. But still, that if you do these 5 things, then you are at least 90% or 80%. The 80/20 rule kind of thing. So for my compliance professional audience, how to comply with this PAPG guidelines quickly?
So first of all, I mean, I've had the opportunity and the good thing to talk to various stakeholders, and the regulatory community as well. So just to speak for them as well, the why of it. Today, if there is a problem in the industry, everyone is going to raise a problem on the regulator. And what was the regulator at the end of the day doing? If they don't, so I think there's been multiple reports that talk about the fact that how much Indian financial industry can be targeted or is going to be targeted in the coming years. So there is this onus on not just the regulator but all of us in the industry to protect the ecosystem. So that's the big picture that we need to all understand, because one of the key mistakes that I feel that many of us are doing is we're just trying to do the compliance and then check the box, and then tomorrow when the regulator does an audit or the regulator asks for reports, or for that matter, when there is a compromise, we then run around for things, which is which I feel that that is counterproductive. So the way we need to look at this compliance has to slightly change. I'm sure all of us have the timelines and business has to run, but one of the key things is, which I've been telling most of our friends and colleagues, is to start early on any of these projects. Don't wait till the end. Because many of these projects, people, the deadline is next month, and people start this month in order to comply with it. So because so that is one thought process. The second is, I'm going to go against a little bit against what you said here, just for the interest of the other side of the table is compliance. People should not check the box. One, we should do it right, and do it in the sense of that tomorrow.
Personally, I believe in that security plus compliance both should
And
go.
you've been an advocate of it.
Yeah,
You've been a strong
yeah,
advocate. I've known you for the last 2 decades.
yeah.
Through security is something that you've been a practitioner, and I'm glad that you asked that question for the benefit of the community. But I think we should do that in all sincerity. And so, what are the quick wins? The quick wins, I think, the largely is on storage of card data. I think tokenization is one such thing that most providers are struggling with. Especially when you have to split PA and PG and two environments, and you have to create two. There are a lot of other governance factors which are more challenging than security control. Technology is a lot more easier to implement, but governance, creating a separate entity, making sure that they don't talk to each other, whether data can be shared from one entity to the other entity. That piece is what is making people struggle. For which honestly I don't have an answer, because that's not my core expertise. But where I see people, and that's where I see people struggling with PAPG guidelines. But the broader idea from the regulator standpoint, if you allow me to speak for them a little, is they are actually as concerned about data security as any one of us, and they have to. And one of the key advantages we have is that we have a regulator who's very proactive, and they are
Yes.
we have to are allowing us to play within the box.
Yes, completely agree. And we have questions on this regulatory aspect from Mr. Ajit Nair. How do you see regulatory changes like tokenization, video QIC make an impact on the rural India? That's very good, interesting question, right? Even the unbanked one, what opportunity does it open up? Yes, I think yeah, coverage of poor and downtrodden the rural village, how this new technology will help us.
No, it's a very good question, Ajit, and I'm happy that you asked, and I think that's what is exciting. These technologies, the video KYC is just going to enable, for those of you who know about this, it's fine. But those of you who do not know, the video KYC has a lot of uh, uh, you know uh, computer algorithms on computer vision that is actually happening, where they're able to make out, and in, and kind of use cloud technologies for video KYC. And then RBI was also clarified that you could also, initially the thought process was you should have in-house in your own infrastructure, but then they clarified it could, even if you were to host it on on cloud, you could do that, provided it is within the control of the particular regulated entity, and so on and so forth. So uh, as far as these technologies are concerned, video KYC is concerned, I think it just I mean, what is so exciting about this is it brings down the cost of onboarding a new customer literally to a small value, which enables the cost of banking. Typically, if you were to rewind, why they would be a minimum balance for a bank at the end of the day, is because they have a cost of operation and they would want to actually make a certain amount of money from each customer. But now the cost of these transactions have kind of coming down drastically, and these kinds of technologies are going to enable the what we call as the rural India to be part of the growth story of the country. So it's very, very exciting. And tokenization is slightly, from a security angle, whereas video KYC has something to open up. And as far as organizations are concerned, as far as if you're an entrepreneur and if you want to set up businesses, and these are, there's a lot of problems out there, and you can be part of that, each solution, and create a lot of businesses out of each of these, problem statements.
I think no, we have only 15 minutes left. It's been a very interesting discussion. I'm not able to believe that we have spent 45 minutes altogether, right? So maybe I'll take last question from my side, and then we'll try to answer the question. Right? It is observed, or it is said, or it loosely said, or also kind of. Noticed that big daddy or big tech giants like Apple Pay or Amazon Pay or Alipay, right? You must have seen that Chinese government is taking no, taking some action against these big tech companies, right? They don't bother the compliance requirement. I'm not sure how much it is. This is true, but because they have the muscles, because they have the voice to hear. I think at times, company like us are struggling to comply, but the big daddy, they don't care, right? Though there is example like RBI has put some restriction to Mastercard, yeah, but still it is said that they don't bother about the regulatory requirement. Do you buy this statement, or what is your experience on this?
If you're talking about the Indian environment, Praveen, is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
Indian global all.
Yeah, so global environment, of course, it differs from region to region, and there are, I mean, it differs from country to country, and so on and so forth. So obviously, an organization is large; they have, they have more muscle, and obviously, countries want these corporations to invest in their country, and and solve problems. So there is that interest in them. uh, but having said that, I think the regulatory framework is different from each country to country. If you were to talk from Indian standpoint, I think it used to be the case earlier, but I think now the Indian regulator has walked the talk and is not sparing anyone who's breaking the rule. So that has, so they're going that way. So they're sending out the right, I will not say the right message, but they're sending out a consistent message. I mean, let me not debate whether it's right or wrong, because I'm sure that opinion is divided. But they're sending out a consistent message that we
Yeah.
need to, everyone has to follow the rules.
And I remember exactly, and I remember when I was working with the bank, right? This and I was at European Bank, and it was huge challenge for that mandate, right? So initially there was lots of. So maybe last question, and this is I'm seeing the the chat box as well. Lots of business heads are our audience currently, right? They would be interested to know that what is the future of in India or globally, right? What are the what kind of company will survive? What kind of product is expected to come? What would be the new demand from our end users? Let's just give you a very high level macro view. What is the future? Maybe next 5 years of the payment industry.
I mean, so from the last 2 years, if you look at it, there were, like, I was just reading somewhere, the number of transactions on digital payments as was about 24 billion in 2018, 2019, and now it's become 44 billion. So really about 20 billion transactions have increased in the matter of 2 years, thanks to the pandemic and the various things that are happening in the industry. And the next 3 years, it is predicted that we are going to add more than 300 million users on the digital payment space in India alone. So, you know, I believe one side you have lots of. So India is, I mean, if you're talking from the Indian, I guess your question was more on the Indian standpoint.
Yeah.
So the Indian standpoint, we have a big problem on hand, and obviously that brings in a huge set of opportunities for digital payment companies and professionals and so on and so forth. So this space is going to, I would say, we have made a lot of headway in the last 5 years, but there's a lot of room to cover, a lot of problem statements to solve in the marketplace with if IoT payments, with crypto currency, all those things coming into picture. There is going to be huge opportunities and problems that are going to require people like you and me and people from the audience to solve, professionals to solve. So I'm very bullish about the Indian payment ecosystem on a global front. Each so one thing that I'm seeing, I mean, this is my personal observation, that every country is following its own trajectory, and the regulators are playing a larger role in governing their entire, like channelizing their entire ecosystem.
Coming to
So,
the regulator, Darshan, if I may ask
sure.
the related question, right? Lots of regulator or central bank are coming up or experimenting with CBDC, right? Central bank digital currency, right? I think to some extent they are also very bullish on that. How do you see that our local regulator, that is Reserve Bank of India, they have any plan to experiment, does some POC use cases on the digital currency?
Yeah, I think just yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, I think there was an announcement on CBDC saying that I think the deputy governor of RBI has made some statement on this front, and I saying that I think there's going to be some movement. I think Sweden is one of the countries which have implemented something around
Yeah,
this space,
and
CBDC.
Britain as well, PRA is also experimenting. Yes, Barclays
So,
was
so,
part
so
of
I'm
that.
sure. So, just to answer your question, I'm sure the some regulator is going to look at it. And the good thing about CBDC is it's going to give a lot of trust to enable the ecosystem to. It's just going to open up a Pandora's box of opportunities. Lots of problem statements that can get solved. It's one more mode of digitization that is going to happen, which is already in place, like the UPIs and cards and mobile payments and whatnot. But it's just going to amplify that, and a whole lot of opportunities up for grabs.
Yeah, we have few question on the cryptocurrency. Do you think cryptocurrency are here to survive? Related question, as crypto transaction are not quite governed across geography. How do you make sure that it is safe and secure transaction? I know the blockchain theory comes in between. Any quick comment on that cryptocurrency future survival,
No,
the success parameter?
I mean, this is, of course, there are many experts in the room, but and this is a highly debated topic, right? And crypto is one place wherever I enter, I always divide the room into two. Uh, so let me say that what my opinion here is. One is cryptocurrency. I believe will coexist with other form factors of payments, because it's going to be there, and it's already reached a momentum, and I don't see it going back. The genie is out, and you just can't put it in, despite whatever efforts people do. This is my personal opinion. But
Yeah.
having said that, whether it's going to replace our current and going to get a lot of it's fun, I feel that many of these like CBDC kind of things, which is backed by the regulator, backed by the which gets in more trust, and the ecosystem gets involved. There is more recourse for there's more auditability, traceability for transactions. Those are going to get more weight and more. If you look at the wind that will blow, that's where the wind will blow, is what I feel. As we move forward in the next couple of years, the wind is going to blow heavily. And blockchain, of course, is just a technology and need not be only used for crypto. It can be used for everywhere else. As a technology, blockchain is going to be used. I was just reading somewhere. There's a lot of use cases even in even in online. I was just reading someone's patent last week, where blockchain is used for for legal documentation. and where someone attests, and then it is it is signed, and it is publicly maintained, so that at the end of the day there is a non-repudiation which gets done. So blockchain technology is here to stay, and I'm sure
Yeah.
that there are multiple use cases for it other than just payments.
Yeah, probably we may take last two more questions because we have only 4 minutes left. I can see one interesting question from Ravi Bhushan. Should company like Wibmo focus on product innovation in addition to technology innovation? Right? There is always debate product innovation, technology innovation. I think for me it's a must. But what is your opinion on this?
Now, so if I understood the question right, when you say product innovation, you are looking at how do
Features,
we.
yes, features wise, simplicity wise, security wise, and technology innovation. The use of the fancy, new technology to make it efficient, to make it more powerful engine kind of thing. So this is what I understood.
Yeah, yeah. So my thing is product innovation. Has to come first, right? And then technology as an enabler for product innovation. That's how I look
Yes,
at it,
yes, yes.
because so technology is just an enabler for product, and ultimately it all comes down to the customer. And then how are you innovating to make his or her life simple and secure? So that's my take.
Yeah.
Good question.
Uh, okay. Will cryptocurrency be blessed by regulator anytime soon?
I can't speak for the regulator. Wish I could, but I think I'll let the regulator talk about it. But at the moment, we all know the answer. Yeah. They're not that gung over it, but that's what at least for the Indian standpoint.
Thank you, Darshan. And I really enjoyed talking with you, and it's quite interesting discussion. Learn lots of information. Personally, for me, I got enriched with your answer. I'm really happy. Up only 2 minutes. Let's go back to any last closing comments, Darshan, from your side before we back this is Pada. Darshan, any last closing comments?
Yeah. So no, I mean, my thing is, I mean, we are excited. I think the payment space is here to make waves, and and I'm looking forward to uh, the the uh, the space panning out for the next 5 years. It's going to be exciting times. A lot of innovation in the thing, and ultimately it's going to only make the solve the problems of the society, and hopefully we are able to live up to the country's goal of having less cash. So that's all that I have. And thanks, Praveen, for having me today. It's a pleasure. It's always good to talk to you, and get your insights into the case as well. So thank you so
Let,
much for
let,
having me.
let me thank my audience, our audience, on behalf of you. Thank you, everyone who has joined. This will be available on YouTube. You can refer, whenever you have time. And yes, have a nice day. Over to you, Sampada. And please do like Wibmo LinkedIn page if you would be interested to have and participate such conversation in future. We do publish lots of insightful article. Please like the Wibmo page. Yes, Sampada, over to you. Hope we are on time.
Thank you, Pravin, and thank you, Darshan, for that insightful conversation. And thank you, all of you, for taking time out to attend this session. We love to hear your feedback. And if you miss anything, don't worry, we'll be posting an on demand recording of this session along with the key takeaways tomorrow. So watch out for the space. And thank you again for joining, and have a great day ahead.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.